This is Cyberlog, world news in anime.
So how in the world does a story that's nearly 180 years old, set on the gloomy English moors, suddenly come roaring back to life and split the internet right down the middle? Well, it happens when you get some of today's biggest stars, hand the reins to one of the most talked about directors out there, and build a cinematic event so loud and so polarizing, nobody could ignore it.
And I mean, it was a genuine event. $83 million. Let that sink in for a second. That's what it made worldwide on its opening weekend alone. This proves it wasn't just another stuffy period piece. It was a must-see theatrical phenomenon.
So what was the perfect storm that made this all happen? It was really a mix of a few key things. Huge star power, a director with a very, very specific vision, a soundtrack that screamed, "This ain't your grandma's costume drama," and of course, the incredibly passionate and often furious reactions from just about everyone.
Okay, to really get what this movie was doing, you have to get the original book. Emily Bronte's novel from 1847. It's not a sweet romance, not even close. It's a dark, pretty brutal story about obsession, about being trapped by your social class, and about how love can twist itself into something so destructive it just burns down everything in its path. This quote, it just nails that terrifying intensity.
So, who were the masterminds behind this? Well, the creative team itself was a major statement. Just looking at the names involved basically guaranteed we were going to get a very modern, very challenging take on this classic.
Now, the secret weapon here is the trust that already existed. You've got director Fennell, who's still riding the massive wave from Saltburn, working again with its star Jacob Elordi. Then you have Margot Robbie, who isn't just starring, she's also producing through her company, which has backed Fennell before. See, this isn't a random collection of people. It's a creative crew that already knows how to make provocative, unforgettable movies together.
And they really, really believed in what they were making. I mean, so much so that they actually turned down a massive offer of $150 million from Netflix. You might be asking, why would they do that? Well, because the winning $80 million bid from Warner Bros. Came with a guarantee that was more important than the money, a huge theatrical release. They wanted you to see this in a dark cinema, not just scroll past it on your TV.
And then there was the music. Oh man, this soundtrack was basically a declaration of war on tradition. You just don't hire a hyperpop icon like Charli XCX, known for her futuristic, intense sound, to score a 19th century drama unless you're trying to send a message. Right from the first trailer, that music told us this version was going to be raw, visceral, and totally unapologetic about being modern.
And that modern feel, it came from some seriously bold choices. And this, right here, is where the debate really caught fire. Fennell didn't just retell the story, she picked it apart, and some of her creative decisions became the absolute core of the controversy.
All right, let's talk about the biggest point of contention, because this was huge, the casting of Heathcliff. Now, in the book, he's a mysterious foundling described as dark-skinned, which has led generations of scholars to interpret him as a person of color. His race is seen as a key reason for his persecution. So casting Jacob Elordi, a white actor, immediately set off a pretty fierce debate about representation.
Now, for her part, Fennell explained that her vision was inspired by the cover of a copy of the book she had as a kid. She also pointed to colorblind casting for other roles in the film, but this decision dropped the movie right into the middle of a huge, ongoing conversation in Hollywood about whether casting should be colorblind or color conscious. It really fueled arguments on both sides. A few other changes really altered the story's DNA too. For one, they aged up the characters. So instead of being teenagers, Catherine and Heathcliff are in their late 20s or early 30s. That shifts the story from a tragedy about reckless kids to one about adults making conscious, devastating choices. And second, where the book had to be subtle, the film puts the physical, almost animalistic nature of their obsession right at the forefront. As you can imagine, the critics were completely split. I mean, for every review that called it provocative and visionary, you could find another one that called it emotionally flat. What's so fascinating is that it was praised and condemned for the exact same things: its boldness, its style, its absolute refusal to be a quiet, respectful adaptation. But here's where it gets really interesting. Look at this gap. While the critics were torn, giving it a 55%, the audience engagement was through the roof at 92%, and the online discourse, 100%. Everyone was talking about it. That tells you something important. It shows that, love it or hate it, the film hit a massive cultural nerve. It became one of those things you just had to have an opinion on. So, all of this brings us to the big question. Why?
Why does this story keep coming back? How does a novel from 1847 still have the power to grab our attention and spark so much passion almost 2 centuries later?
You know, this timeline really says it all. Back in 1847, the book was called savage and disturbing. It shocked people. Fast forward to 2026, and the film is called provocative and controversial. The words have changed a little, but the reaction is exactly the same. Wuthering Heights has always been designed to challenge people, to make them uncomfortable. That's its superpower.
And it endures because the themes at its heart are just timeless. The struggle between who you truly love and who society tells you you're allowed to love, that's still here. The brutal ways that social class can define your life, still a thing. And the terrifying idea that a powerful love, when it's denied, can mutate into this all-consuming destructive force, yeah, that's as relevant today as it was in the 1840s.
And really, it all boils down to this single iconic line. This is the whole story in a nutshell. It's about a connection between two people that's so profound it feels like it's part of nature itself, a connection that defies society, reason, and even morality. And tragically, it's that very connection that leads to their complete and utter destruction.
So, where does that leave all of us? Was this film a visionary masterpiece that finally captured the novel's raw, untamed spirit for a new generation? Or was it a beautiful but empty betrayal that missed the book's complicated heart? The internet is still fighting about it, and honestly, the answer probably just depends on what you think a movie adaptation is supposed to do. The only thing that's for sure is that we're going to be talking about this one for a long, long time.